Everybody, welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name, and welcome to another Metaphor ReFantazio demo. Today, we're going to be talking followers. Early game followers you should be focusing on. So, be aware, there is room potentially for spoilers. If you're watching this video, you might see followers that you don't know you're going to get, or there's nothing crazy in here, all right? There's nothing like, holy shit, that person! But there is, if you're not as far as me, you may see things that you would not normally see. So let's jump into it. So first thing to note about followers. If you pause and you go into the follower screen, you can take a look at all the followers that there are going to be in the game, right? I mean, I'm only missing 3 of them at this point, right? So there's not like a crazy amount of followers. And so also what you could do is if you hit A on a follower and then you hit Y, you could preview their abilities. Now, I believe they give you 2 levels of preview. So if there are like 4, I think you could see 5 and 6. It might just be 5. I don't quite remember. But once you get more up to rank 5, I believe it is. It doesn't tell me in hindsight. It was either 4 or rank 5. Probably rank 4, actually. You get the ability forecast. This allows you to preview all the abilities for all followers from the main menu. So now I could take a look at any character that I have. Like, let's take a look at Barden. What's his ultimate here? Increase skill inheritance to 4 slots for the commander lineage, or you can now be the warlord at 7. Escape will always succeed during squad battle, so that's really good. So you can take a look at like a bunch of this stuff, right? You know what? Half the turn icon of switching into reserve, that's pretty sick. But yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff here. And basically what you're able to do, like I actually, you're going to want to level up in general anyway, because it's the Seeker and he gives you quests to basically make sure you're developing your archetypes. But it's not like you don't really need to rush. None of these early ones are going to be like absolutely game breaking. They're all just like reasonable. And in fact, most people's are reasonable. The only ones I would say, and a lot of them are time locked, right? Like, I mean, they're all time locked to an extent. Right? You can't max any of them out super early, but the early party members you're going to be getting a little bit earlier. And then Galaga, well, Gallica is going to be probably locked behind the main progression points, kind of like Morgana, probably similar with Katharina. So now that you can see everybody, you're going to want to prioritize partially based on who you like, but I think with an exception, you should focus headlong, go all in first on Maria, and you should get her up to rank 4. Why do I say that? Well, if you actually come in here and take a look, she has all the healer stuff, and she does actually increase post-battle experience once you get her to level 4. I mean, that's obviously pretty good, but I haven't like really noticed it that much. Maybe it's like 10%. So this doesn't break it. But what she does give you here is actually probably the most powerful early game bonus you could get from your followers, and that is speed cooking. And so this will allow you to cook in the runner's kitchen. So, when you have your ship traveling from point A to point B, you will be able to cook in there without using time. So normally you get enough time to do one thing, right? You could either cook, you could read a book, you can sometimes improve a relationship with a follower, you can improve your maximum HP and MP, activities. But now you can cook not unlimited times. You can still only do it once per travel, but it doesn't take the time up at all. So you could do this. This is so good. So why is this so good? Is essentially the game is a big min-max of how you spend your time. So any effect that will help you give you additional time is like insanely OP and will help you min-max the game to a further extent. And what this does is that this essentially, because they're one of the first things, they're like, hey, if you get all the recipes, maybe you'll be able to unlock an ultimate recipe and things like that, right? So obviously there's like some sort of longer goal along with this. So by doing this, if you're going for the completing all the recipes, I mean, this will save you 10 blocks of time, which is a huge amount of time. But besides that, also, sometimes you just come across a quest. Like I just did a quest that required me to cook for this city. They're like, discover a recipe that uses milk and really brings the spirits up. And so I cooked them some fancy ass bread, and it took, accepting the quest took no blocks of time. Cooking it cost no blocks of time. And then turning in the quest took no blocks of time. So I got to do a complete basic quest chain without actually consuming any time, which is really good. Now, I didn't get to do it all at once because I had to wait till I was traveling to use the kitchen, but this is super, super good. You want to make sure as soon as you can, get her up to level 4, because being able to save time is, if you haven't played Persona-like games, trust me, saving time is busted. Because now with that time, you get to suddenly and choose if you want to increase your maximum health, which is like whatever, it's still good. You could read the books, which give you huge boosts to your overall kingly attributes, or you can just, sometimes your party member will get a you know, an upgrade. Like you'll be able to do an upgrade with your like I did one for Heimsay, I did one for Stroll, I did one for Hulkenberg, all in like the same trip while cooking every single one of those days too. So it ended up being crazy. So the only other one I would say is probably worth rushing, quote unquote, there's two. So as a quick note, I would say you could pick any party member, but rushing one of them to get to their final version as soon as it will let you is probably pretty good. I don't think it's quite like Persona where you could just do it whenever you want. There is like these hard time camps where you can't just bypass it. But they acquire a new heroic embodiment, so that's just going to be a big power spike. What is it? I haven't got there yet. All right. But the other one I did want to point out is Barden. Relatively early on here, at rank 4, you get actually 2 relatively decent effects here. You get the protective formation, which improves the defense of the whole party when the whole party is in the back row. So it's pretty easy to stay in the back row. I, by default, keep all my characters in the back row. In case I get ambushed, they just start the fight in the back row. And if they need to fight, I can move them to the front row to fight, right? So there's almost no reason to have your characters in the front row as part of formation. So this is just good. This will help you a lot against ambushes because you're already getting a pretty good damage reduction, and this will just give you more defense on top of that. Also, it's very easy to build a team that stays in the back row, right? Gunners do a lot of damage and stay in the back row. Mages stay in the back row. There's lots of characters with lots of effects that will do full damage from the back row. So overall, this is a pretty darn good effect. It depends how much the defense goes up, but in general, being able to prevent your team from being one-shot is gonna be powerful. This will allow you to more easily handle harder fights. Also on the same level, he does give you a care package. Occasionally, as one day ends and another begins, he will send a parcel. I assume that this is like scripted on specific days, where it's like, it's not random. That way you can't receive 10 in a row, but you can also, like, if it was a 5% chance, some people in their playthrough would never get one, and some people would get one, you know, all the time. So I'm assuming that this will be like once a week or something. This will basically come through. What is the package? What is the parcel? I don't know. But the more of those you get over the course of your playthrough, the better it's going to be. Hopefully it scales over the course of the game. So this is one that's also worth, one that I'm working on next. I will be prioritizing this one after I'm done with like normal requests and stuff like that. So that is all for this one. Again, mostly to highlight our girl Maria here. It is more power. If this doesn't sound powerful to you, then you are underestimating how nice it is to save blocks of time. Even if you don't plan on cooking that much, there are some quests you're going to want to cook. And if you could ever just get an ability that saves you a block of time, one, you already want to level it up because it's nice to get like a higher level cleric. Also, the cooking is very powerful. And then this will save you blocks of time overall. So overall, very, very powerful. And I highly recommend that you get it. But that's all for today, guys. Thank you very much for Platypus's Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye!
Turning on the screen.